Y'all, most people are going to look at this situation and be like, oh, it's because she bombed the Diddy case. This is why Maurene Comey, the lead attorney or prosecutor on the Diddy case, is fired because she totally bombed it. Nah, I think it's the latter. I think it has to do with everything with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And you know, Trump has been under fire because he does not want to release those files. Release some goddamn files. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started with the show, y'all. Y'all, Trump is trying to tie up them loose ends. We ain't fooled. We ain't gonna be fooled over here. But what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Talk the Real Deal with AT2. And yes, I'm your boy AT2. How everybody doing? How everybody living? How everybody feeling? What's up, Sharna? How you doing? What's up, Sharice? What's up, Peaches? What's up, Callie? I ain't seen you in a while, Callie. I thought you turned on me. Who else? What's up, Tasha? What's up, Denitria? Hello, everybody. Yes, another live. What's up, Miss Bugs? How you doing? What's up, Ola? What's up, Diamond Eyes? What's up, Jackie? Yeah, I definitely think that this more or less has to do with her connection to two things. Her father, who was a former FBI director, James Comey, and then with the Epstein and Ghislaine. I think a lot of the content creators are going to go with the Diddy stuff, like, oh, she bombed the Diddy case. Technically, he still was convicted of two things. You know, he still was convicted. So it wasn't a total loss. Now, did they lose a lot of money on that case? Yeah, they lost a lot of money on it. But if you compare, like, okay, she wasn't able to get Diddy fully, but she got Ghislaine, she got she couldn't get Jeffrey Epstein because allegedly he, murked himself beforehand. But yeah, let me go ahead and pull up this video. They talked about it on Fox News. One moment. Oh, damn, where's the video? Here we go.
This has been a bad few-week stretch for Jim Comey's daughter. She was just fired by the DOJ. She's known for a couple things. She just lost the Diddy case.
Thank you, Denitria.
Of course, and she was Jeffrey Epstein's prosecutor. So the daughter of the former FBI director, James Comey, she's a veteran federal prosecutor, worked on these cases. Maurene Comey is fired. So this is sending tongues a-wagging as the internet personalities and others, and this show has asked questions about what happened with the files, why did we overpromise and underdeliver? But the president has made his opinion on this very clear over the last couple of days. We're going to continue to cover this. And we also have big developments in the Biden cover-up, not exactly a household name, but inside the Beltway. They dubbed him Dr. Jill's work husband. Anthony Bernal appeared today.
All right, that's enough of that. Of course, they always put it back. Oh, what about those Democrats? They're not in power, and we know that the Democrats suck. Like, who cares? It's all about what's going on. But also, don't forget that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, they opened up an investigation towards James Comey, but they never exactly said why. But he had posted this like 86-47, which means, Donald Trump, because he's president 47. Well, he was 45 and 47, but 47. So let me go ahead and pull this up.
I want to bring in NBC's Ken Delanian in Washington. Michael Schmidt is an investigative reporter for the New York Times who has the new reporting on Comey. He's also an MSNBC national security contributor. Ashley Parker is staff writer at The Atlantic and an MSNBC political analyst. Okay, Michael, we learned back in mid-May that Comey had been questioned by the Secret Service about a social media post that showed shells arranged in the numbers 86-47, which Trump allies said was a threat to 86, the 47th president. Comey denies that, of course, but spoke to the Secret Service at least twice. Typically, right, that would have ended it. And what happened next?
So the night that Comey posted that and took it down, he was interviewed by the Secret Service, and he explained to them that he didn't know that the arrangement of the seashells had a violent connotation, that he had no intention of harming the president. Former Secret Service officials told us that at that point, given who Comey was and the fact that he had no violent history, that he was the former head of the FBI, that would have been the end of any sort of Secret Service.
Oh, trust me, he knew what he was doing. Of course, he's gonna lie and say he didn't know, but he knew what he was doing. This is just explaining like the post, but where did they talk about the DOJ opened up an investigation? Hold on, y'all. Okay, maybe this one right here. Okay, right here. Here we go.
There is a report this morning that the DOJ could potentially appoint a special prosecutor for a possible criminal grand conspiracy case as the investigation continues into former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan. FBI Director Kash Patel recently called the Russia collusion hoax, quote, the biggest political criminal scheme ever perpetrated by portions of the FBI leadership and other elements of the intelligence community. Joining us this morning to discuss is former FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jody Weiss. Good morning to you, sir. You know, you spent more than 2 decades in law enforcement at the federal level with the Bureau. What's your thoughts, first of all, regarding the criminal investigation into Comey and Brennan?
Jen, I couldn't be happier. You look back at what was going on in the FBI starting in 2016, these cases, the way they approached General Flynn, Crossfire Hurricane, the Russian.
So basically what they're alluding to is that they're opening up investigation into the Russia thing. For those of you who don't know, in 2016, they said that the Russians played a role in our election, which we know that they had fake social media sites and stuff like that. That was actually proven, and Trump even got impeached for that. So it wasn't a hoax. Now, he didn't go down with a crime because technically they said, well, they didn't know what Russia was technically doing. Like, they didn't know that they were trying to interfere with our election. They were too dumb to know. That's basically was the resolution in that whole case. Remember, they had a whole special, not a special trial. What is that? A special prosecutor. There was a guy, and I forgot his name, but a special investigation or something like that. I forgot the guy's name. I had to think about it.
A collusion case, then moving to the raid on Mar-a-Lago, the lawfare that came after President Trump. This was outrageous. And then you add the arrogance of these 2 individuals, Comey and Brennan. It was unbelievable. So I'm extremely happy that someone is finally looking into this.
Well,
yeah. So, okay. Like I said, with the news, sometimes they strike you or not. So I don't want to play the whole thing. But what I will say is that this definitely seems like a revenge. This seems like a whole, like, okay, we gonna get her. And I think more people will look at this like, oh, this has something to do with Diddy. Like, because she bombed the case and she didn't get the RICO and stuff like that. She messed up, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you look at the prosecution rate, technically, they still got a conviction. Now, it wasn't for everything that they thought they were going to get. They still got a conviction. So at the end of the day, I hate to say a win is a win, but I guess technically a win is a win. Now, she was the person that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. And then, like I said, with Epstein, he killed himself. So she couldn't prosecute him. But she was the lead attorney on that. And you know, Trump has been ducking and dodging.
These files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. The president, your daughter-in-law said that there's transparency in the Epstein case. You agree with her, sir? The attorney general's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. And I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also. But I think the attorney general, the credibility is very important. And you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the attorney general's handled it very well.
So don't forget, he said Comey. So he either could be talking about James Comey or he could be talking about Maurene Comey, his daughter, which ding, 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 ding. He's already put in doubt that the Democrats was the one who had something to do with the file. So this seems like, okay, I know that this girl knows something. Let's go ahead and, push the Department of Justice to go ahead and fire her. This is what it looks like to me.
On what? On the on what? On what subject? Okay. A very quick briefing.
She told you, what did she tell you? Specifically, she told you at all that your name of your
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden. We went through years of that with the.
Even though Epstein, like Callie said, died when he was in office in 2019. There was even a clip going on online. I wonder if I can find it. I think it was DL Hughley, because I reposted it on my Instagram. DL Hughley. Let me see. Yep, found it. Where he tried to claim that Jeffrey Epstein died during the Obama years. Hold on, not that one. This one. Oh, sorry. Where the hell is the sound? Here we go.
To me about these people. Jeffries knew the Biden administration had exactly the same thing the Trump administration has on Epstein. Exactly. Right. Because Epstein was convicted during the Biden administrations. Not one time did Hakeem Jeffrey call for any exposition of what the Biden Justice Department knew. Not once. So this guy's a top phony, okay? He's a political player. He doesn't care about the truth.
Wait,
he doesn't care about the people.
Hold on. Bill.
This is what
hold on.
he does.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on. You said Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Epstein committed suicide during the Trump administration.
Yeah, so?
How is he convicted? How do you convict a guy who's dead?
He was convicted in I believe, okay, under Merrick Garland's Justice Department. That could be. Am I wrong on that? I don't think so. And he was incarcerated, and then he committed suicide. Okay. The suicide thing is bull. I know the New York coroner's office very, very well. There's no way those people in there put a phony report about a suicide. No way. Impossible. And it's not hard to ascertain whether you.
Yeah, Bill, I think this is important. Bill, I think this is important. He was arrested in 2019, and he committed suicide in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019. So the Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. And that's a good point of clarification. But he was arrested and indicted under Merrick Garland.
No, under Trump.
Who had all of the information.
Bill Barr was the attorney general. Bill Barr, who worked under Trump, Bill Barr dad hired Jeffrey Epstein with no college education at all. There's a bigger story here. That's why I said, don't let that Epstein shit go. Y'all wanted to push this narrative that all the Democrats is on there, and I have no problem. If the Democrats are on there, put their ass in jail too. But now you guys all of a sudden don't care about the Epstein shit.
Epstein was arrested, indicted, and committed suicide under Trump in 2019. Trump was president. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general.
Okay, I stand corrected. So this is how disingenuous that.
Yo, he was like, okay, I stand corrected. Yeah, because your whole argument is invalid, homie. But yeah, like I was telling you guys, this has more to do with the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell situation than it has to do with Diddy. I don't believe that they cared that much about what happened with Diddy compared to this. It sounds like, okay, we need to go ahead and push her out. Unless they come out with a statement and say, oh, she did something corrupt, or, well, even if she did something corrupt during the trial, like he would have ended up with some kind of mistrial or something like that, right? Like there would have been some kind of backlash, or something would have came out that she did something wrong. And let's be honest, the defense job is to pick up on that stuff if something illegal is going. Like one of the things that people forget about the OJ case, it wasn't just that it was about the race issue. The prosecution was putting fake evidence. That's why OJ ended up getting off, because they were using fake evidence and shit like that. Mind you, I was a kid. I didn't learn this until later, but they were planting like fake evidence and shit like that. So that's why OJ actually got off. Or that was one of the reasons why he got off. It wasn't just because they was trying to down this black man and stuff like that. Yeah, that could have played a part, but the prosecution really was fucking up. So if we find that out, let that be the story. But I think more than likely, she was the lead prosecutor on Epstein and Ghislaine. Yeah, they trying to tie up all the loose ends and get rid of all those people, because what does she know? But let's do a 30-second countdown before we get out of here. Do you guys think that Maurene Comey's firing had to do with the Diddy case or Jeffrey Epstein? 30 seconds. Yeah, they could care less about Diddy. Now, y'all might think, oh, it's because of Diddy, but nah. I told you, I ain't gonna have no dummies in my chat. Y'all gonna be smart. But I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching the show. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Love y'all, but we out.